Got it. I found it. The
Okay.
button went away, but I was able to get it going. Okay. We are recording, folks, and welcome to our October Minnesota Quilters meeting. I think we're just going to give it a few more minutes here while people are coming in. It looks like we're up to 60, which is good. Oh, okay. Welcome. First, we are going to start with our Tracy Trevethan presentation in just a minute. But as we're on Zoom and it's Thursday, we don't plan to take a break today. We will move right from her presentation to announcements, show and tell, and door prizes. There we go. Tonight we have Tracy, who's relatively local. She's from Jordan, just down the road, just down 169. I drive by it all the time. And tonight she's going to present her quilting journey, how she started quilting and fabric dyeing. And then on Saturday, she'll do a slightly different presentation. That'll be in person and hybrid on Saturday. She'll go digging deep into wool applique, how to dye wool at home. And I think there'll be a bit of a demo with tips and tricks for fun wool applique plus trunk show. And she'll also be vending. So I am going to stop sharing and let Tracy take it away. Let's see. There's Tracy. Just a sec.
Oh, okay. I was reading that. Somebody's sister lives in Jordan.
Oh. Okay.
She doesn't live on my street. I don't know her. Are you ready? Should I start? Ready, set, go?
So can everyone see her? Is she?
And
is
can
Tracy?
You hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Go.
Go.
All right.
Good.
I haven't done very many of these, so it's always a little weird, isn't it? Talking to people that aren't really there.
Oh,
anyway,
we're here.
Okay, so I only have an hour, so I better get going. And oh, she lives at the end of Russell Road. Are you kidding? That's the street I live on. Okay, you have to tell me her whole name. I must know her. She lives on my street. Okay.
Jean Lamore.
What?
Jean Lamore.
Lamore? No, I don't know.
Louis. Few blocks away then. It's further down the street.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay, there's a couple people on the farthest end. I live right on the pond, so she must be close.
We'll have to talk later, Tracy.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to meet her. Okay, Jan, hi. All right, I can't, my eyes aren't good enough to stand back here and read all the messages. I have to peek in here. Okay, I'm gonna get started. But if you do have a question, just go ahead and ask me, because if you're like me, I'll forget. If you wait, I'll forget. So go ahead and just interrupt me if you want to. All right, so I have hanging here my first quilt I made, which is in kind of sad shape. But anyway, I'm going to tell you my story about how I started quilting. I've been sewing forever. Okay, my mother sewed a lot. She made everybody's clothes. She made suits for my dad in the 70s. She was always sewing. And I have 3 brothers, so they were quite annoying a lot of the time. And I would go to respite, find my mom, and she would give me something to do, usually tearing out a seam. But anyway, I started sewing along with her, and started making my own clothes in high school, and I always really enjoyed sewing. But when I got to college, there was some stigma attached to home ec majors, and I didn't think that's what I wanted to be. Anyway, so I have an art degree, but I also have a lot of sewing background that I took in college to help my grade point. I took tailoring and design, and I really loved that. And I didn't know anything about quilting in college. I didn't know that was a thing at all. I didn't know anybody who did that. Found out later, my grandmother, my great grandmother did, but my mother never did. And it just took me a little while later to get my art and the sewing together. And obviously, right? Somebody would have said, you need to be a quilter. I could have skipped a bunch of years. But anyway, I was working at a sewing machine dealership when it all started. And I think it was 1992. I wasn't sure if it was 91 or 92. So I looked up what year, trying to figure out based on my fabric in this quilt, because it was a Hoffman Challenge. So the Hoffman Challenge started in 1992. So I think it was the first year. I don't think it was after that. But this woman, I was in Shakopee working at this creative sewing. And this lady, I do not remember her name. She owned this tiny little fabric store in Shakopee. And she came in with this planet fabric. And I know it's far away and it's hard to see, but this fabric is all planets. And I have 2 boys. And so I thought, she's telling me about this Hoffman Challenge. It's silly me. I think, oh, I can make a quilt and get it done in time for this contest. That sounds like a great idea. Well, I never made a quilt. So anyway, I took this fabric home and I combined it with just fabric I had at home. I made all my boys' clothes, so I had scraps. And this was left over from a shower curtain. And I don't know what these other things were, just scraps that I had at home. I did not get it done in time for the challenge because I didn't know what I was doing. I just drafted my own pattern. I didn't even know you could buy a quilting pattern. How funny is that? So anyway, I just kind of made it up. From your viewpoint, it looks pretty good. But if you get pretty close, you can see how my seams don't match. It's not so great. But who cares, right? My son loved it. And if you can see, you can kind of see, even though the light's not great, how it's lighter and darker. And here, there's a big one, big spot here. Those, okay, so it's, what is that? Somebody do that math. 30, 31 years, something. It's faded, and it was never really in direct light, just on his bed. It's just showing, I just wanted to point that out to tell you it's the difference in quality fabric. I really think the Hoffman fabric is not faded. Most of this other fabric isn't faded, but that dark blue out on the outer edge, I bet I bought it at Mill End or something, and it just wasn't as good as a quilt shop quality fabric. So I think it does pay, especially if you're going to do a big section like the border, to definitely buy a better quality fabric. So anyway, that's my first quilt. And apparently it's all it took was one terrible quilt. Well, okay, not terrible. One okay quilt to get me to want to be a quilter. I don't know how many quilts it takes most people, but it really took me one. So it was probably a couple years. I did make another quilt after this one for my other son, but it's not here to show you. He has it. And that one I used a pattern, but it was only for a wall hanging. So I added a bunch of stuff to it. And then I realized I don't need a pattern, right? I can just make this up. Anyway, the next year, I think it was maybe 94. It's hard to remember back that far, you know? I started working at the sampler. And I don't know, some of you probably remember when it was in Excelsior. Sharon Resvick, I know a lot of you know Sharon. Sharon and I started working there on the same day all those years ago. But anyway, she hired me so I could teach garment making classes because I had been sewing garments for a long time. Uh, but I didn't really know all the finer points of quilting. So I took beginning quilting at the sampler and was forced to make this, which I love it though. But it was quilting by hand. And that didn't go over so good. I had these two little boys and I was supposed to do my homework by hand piecing. Can you imagine? No, I would come in with my homework done on the machine and kind of get chewed out by the instructor. She didn't like my yellow background. She told me that it should be a tan or a white. This was a long time ago. But I told her yellow was a neutral. And I don't know if she ever saw my viewpoint, but anyway, I learned to really make a quilt. And then, I don't know, the rest is history, I guess. So that one was number 3. And then I started teaching more classes and I started doing all kinds of different techniques so that I could teach class. I started designing patterns so that I could teach those classes. And I wanted a lot of patterns that we had available. The directions weren't so great, or they were just too hard. It just wasn't so easy to find something. And machine quilting wasn't as popular as it is now. So I incorporated the machine quilting in my class instead of hand quilting and machine piecing. And my classes were very popular, but we're just going to go through some of the things I did. So I like to design something that is easy to make, but doesn't necessarily look so easy. This one is very simple. This table runner was just for easiest beginner quick class. The pattern has a bigger quilt plus the table runners. This is called Buds and Blooms. And at the same time, it didn't take me long, I started painting fabric. So I still love batiks. And I really got the owner of the sampler, Carol, she came home from Quilt Market and had some hand painted fabric. And, you know, I have an art degree. I'm like, I can do that. So I started painting fabric and I loved that. I love painting it. I love dyeing it. Like, give me a piece of white fabric and I know it wants to be a color. So that's a lot of fun. This pattern is called Hodgepodge. And just, no, you don't have to match any seams. It's kind of hard to see the real detail of the pieces through the computer, but this is called Hodgepodge. And I have a bigger one. Well, I made a bigger one somewhere. I don't know where it went. When we moved to Jordan, we've been here 9 years and we were in Chaska. And I was working at Make It So in Chanhassen. And when that store closed, didn't know what I was going to do. And I don't know what I was thinking. I thought that I was going to stop quilting. That's just crazy. But I really did. I thought I was going to stop quilting and I actually got trained as an optician. I mean, it's kind of silly, but I was an optician for a while. But I got bored with that pretty fast and it just wasn't creative and I needed to go back to quilting. So, okay, that was a little sidebar, but anyway, I guess everything just brings me back. This gets a little more complicated. This is called a Diamond Dance. Oh, my light just went out. Just a sec.
I love your hanging system, Tracy.
Oh, no, we're just keep our fingers crossed that it doesn't fall down. I can't put a lot on here, so we'll see how this goes. But thank you. So this quilt is so great. It just is strip piece. They're all, this is a bigger one, narrower, just strip pieced, and then cut down into kind of a diamond and put together as just in blocks to create more diamonds. Really easy to make. Oh, I should closer. Here you can see there's cave fabrics in here, but the rest of the fabrics are all my hand painted cottons. I don't do that anymore though, because I just don't have time with the wool. So much wool to dye. Okay, so I did, quite a few different, oh, I was going to say that when we moved from Chaska to Jordan, I had a sale and I sold a lot of my quilts. So there's a lot of things I just don't have anymore. This house is smaller and I didn't think I was going to have room for them. But how many of us in the room or in the Zoom room still have all the quilts we've made? None of us, right? What fun is it if you can't give them away? So I did easy things to piece for beginners or intermediates. And then I met this woman who invented the Curve Master foot. She was vending by me one year at the Minnesota show. We were in Duluth. And so I thought, oh, I can do curves. I sew in sleeves, I put in collars, I can sew curves. Let's teach some people how to do curve quilts. So I designed this one. It's called Canyon Dance. Let's see if this doesn't fall down. Okay, getting a little wonky. Big one. Well, it's just like not even quite twin size, but I don't know if you can really see it. But this is my curve piecing quilt that still is, I don't know what year I did this. 2007, I think. How many years ago is that? And still sell a lot of this pattern. And I have templates that you can buy to go with it. And I had 2 template makers die on me and had to keep getting new template makers. So now my brother does it. So it's all good. Keep it in the family. So I did this first quilt, the Canyon Dance, with the templates, and it's super easy because you sew your curve pieces together, and as daunting as that might sound, it doesn't really have to turn out square because you can trim it down. So it can, turn out to be 11 wonky inches, whatever, and you just put your 10-inch square on there and make it a nice little square because nothing has to match on the side seams, so it doesn't matter. So I think that's why it's so popular. It's just different. It has a lot of movement. It's a lot of fun. You can just pick out a bunch of fat quarters that you liked that go together, and it's always going to work. So it's a real fun quilt. I don't even know how many of them I've made, quite a few. But I was feeling kind of bad. This is like the Midwest girl in me thinking, oh, templates are expensive, and I wouldn't want to pay that much money to make one thing, right? Even though I know a lot of women make that quilt more than one time. But I designed another pattern. This is the pattern. It's called Curves de Fleur. And this pattern has 2 more quilts on it. I don't know where that one is. Anyway, 2 more quilts using the templates. So this one is called Lily Pad. So it's just really turning those same pieces into another direction. It's kind of tone on tone, so it's hard to see, but here you can kind of see just a little more thinking about your lights and your darks rather than this one is just very random. Okay, and that not enough, right? So with the templates, there's 2 more patterns that come in the template package. And let's see, what do I have here? I have this one. This is called the Curve Canyon Puzzle. So again, using the same templates, just giving you another option. And there's another one in there I don't have anymore. So, but it's cool also. They're all cool. So that's my curve piecing fun. Yeah, this Canyon dance is been a great class I've taught. Probably should figure out how to put some wool applique on that one. Oh, okay, so I taught all the curve piecing classes, and this quilt also is like half batiks and half my hand painted fabrics. Then I thought, well, we must have needed to teach a paper piecing class. So I started doing paper piecing. And I tried to teach myself how to paper piece while I was quilting with a girlfriend. And first of all, it's hard to teach yourself that while you're talking and while you're drinking. It didn't go over so good. So I had to teach myself paper piecing sober by myself, quiet time, right? But once you get it down, if you haven't tried paper piecing, it's a lot of fun. So I have several patterns I designed that are paper piecing. This one is my favorite. I have to take some down before I hang that up though, because I'm afraid this will all fall. So bear with me a second.
Tracy, there is a message in the chat that says, Tracy, it's from Jan Bethke. Great to see you. I'm the gal who got a free dye job many years ago at your class in St. Cloud.
Hi, Dan. Oh, should I tell the story quick? She was taking we were dyeing, I don't know, we must have been dyeing cotton. No, we were dyeing wool, I think. So a dyeing class at Minnesota Quilt Show. I can't remember what town it was in, but she had this beautiful pieced jacket that she had made, and it was on her chair, and her neighbor, oh, here in St. Cloud, okay, her neighbor spilled some dye on it. Well, I just fixed it. I just dyed the whole thing, and it turned out gorgeous. I was a little worried that she wasn't going to like it, but yeah, do you still have it, Jan? I hope so. It was so pretty. Okay, this is Starlight Night. This is like a storm at sea. Yeah, she does have it. Yeah. You'll have to wear it to your next meeting so everybody can see it now that they know the story. Kind of a storm at sea. This is all my hand painted fabrics, but I love it. I just love this quilt. But it's small because I get impatient sewing all those little pieces together. I don't know why that is. That's just me, I guess. All right. What else? Oh, I have a couple other ones that I should say. Oh, you're in Texas. Okay, we'll have to wait and see you. See you in June in Duluth. We're not going to Duluth though, are we? Maybe I'm wrong. I thought it was back in
It's the quilt show.
Yeah. Is it in Duluth?
It's in Duluth this next year.
Oh, good. That's good. They got the air conditioning fixed.
I think so. I hope so.
Okay, so I have a couple other ones that I don't have the quilt. They're at the quilt shop in New Prague, but this is Caribbean Candlelight. Another one of my favorites. I just love it. And this one is Firecracker Fabulous. Okay, so, oh, and my Moonlight Lily. This has been a super popular pattern of mine, my best-selling paper piecing one. I think I did this one first because the pieces are bigger. You know, it's easier when the pieces are bigger, always, no matter what you're making. So this, I love this one. I love the garden. I love flowers. And I have seen several times at one of our quilt shows, people have entered this quilt bigger even. Yeah. So pretty. No, I should make another one. There's only so much time, right? Okay, so this is paper piecing, and then what else do I have to learn? I have to chat again online. You know what? It's probably, I don't think I have this one available as a PDF. I do have some, but if you want one as a PDF, it's just in my computer. I can do it. If it's not there, just email me and I'll do it. Okay, where was I? Oh, so I had to learn applique, right? So I took an applique class. Actually, the first quilt I finished that was applique is in the pile here. You'll get to see it. I actually won a ribbon, but I don't like it. I did not enjoy it. This pattern is called Strip Around the Block, and in the pattern you can make it without applique. This one doesn't have any applique. It's so easy to make. These pieces right here that go around these little triangle block are just strip pieced and then cut, you know, cut down to the right little size and sewn on. It's really fast. I don't do it super putsy. I would never do something where I have to cut out a bunch of little squares and sew them together. Never. I would just throw that in the garbage before I took the time to do that. And women who make those quilts with all those tiny little pieces, I think they must be some kind of superheroes because I don't have that in me. But this one was a lot of fun to make, and the pattern also has, oh, here. Same pattern. Bring it closer. Same pattern, made the same way. It just has some applique at it, and that applique is in the pattern. I have another one. It's really pretty in rust colors. I think that's set aside to bring on Saturday though. So it either come Saturday or that will be recorded, I believe, so you can watch that later. So I did a little applique. I started doing some wool. I had just been dyeing cotton and silk and rayons, and another quilt designer I know asked me if I could dye wool. And like, sure, I don't know, why not? I can figure that out. I can figure out anything, right? So just did a little research and started playing with it. And that was like the early 2000s. I don't know, like 2005 maybe, a long time ago. I couldn't even get my hands on any 100% wool. I couldn't at that time find a source for that. So all I had was made a blend, a wool and poly blend, which it dyed okay, just it wasn't great, wasn't near like what I do now. But so that one has That one I'd applique later. That one is 100% wool. But this is one of the first ones. The colors just aren't as vibrant. The little bit of polyester in the wool just doesn't take the color as well. This is Boxes and Buttercups is the name of this one. And on the pattern, there's two colorways on the cover, and the other one doesn't have the applique. So you can do it either way, with applique or without applique. And if you put wool applique on a quilt, it just shouldn't be, I was gonna say it shouldn't be machine washed, but it would be okay to machine wash it on gentle and cold water. You just then can't put it in a warm dryer. You'd have to hang it up to dry because wool will shrink whenever there is heat. So anyway, started playing with wool, and oh my goodness, dyeing cotton is so much work. Cotton, rayon, silk, all those things, all those plant fibers that needed to be ironed. And when my boys were like in middle school, I paid them to iron fabric. They throw it back at me all the time, but I paid them, you know. But they talk like it was torture. But it takes a lot of time, and it's not fun. But I let them watch TV. Yeah, it sounds like there was probably some child labor laws broken. Oh, don't tell anybody. Okay, so I started dyeing wool, and I started out with, I don't know, maybe 50 colors, maybe probably not even that many. And then I would design something and want to put wool on it. So I had to make more colors and then more colors. And then other designers started asking me as wool applique got more popular, if I could dye wool for them, certain colors. So I still do that. I have a number of people that I dye wool for. And then it doesn't have my name on it, you know, it's just in their kits or whatever, but that's okay. I love to get to come up with the color. You know, they'll send me a swatch of something and I get to make that color. So it's fun. It's playtime. So then I have some more wool applique things here, but most of them I'm going to bring with me on Saturday because there's way too many to show you of either thing in 1 hour. So
Tracy,
yeah.
sorry. So of that quilt that's hanging up right now, is the entire thing wool? Or
No.
is it?
No, it's just these little flowers
Okay.
is wool. The rest of it is all cotton.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. I wasn't sure what.
Well, I'm glad you said that because I didn't really specify. Most of the time, I do have a few things that I'll have with me on Saturday that are all wool. But to do a whole big quilt, and wool's expensive. And I like the difference. I like the cotton with the wool. I like the contrast you get in the textures. But sometimes I do all wool if it's small, but that's not my preference. My preference would be, I still like to work with cotton. I love to work with batiks. So I really like to mix batiks and wool. This one, so same situation, whereas this one back here, just the flower is wool. So here, I'll just show you closer. You can see, so the sunflower and the leaves are wool, and they are on batik, or, you know, any cotton. It also, it's not as heavy. Although wool isn't really that heavy. It seems like if the whole thing was wool. I do have a quilt on my bed that my great grandmother made in the late 1800s. That is all wool, and it is really heavy. But I think it's the batting, really, to think about it now. It has a cotton batting, and I like to use wool batting, so it keeps it lighter. Anyway, this is Sunflower Sizzle, and the pattern has a bigger size as well as the table runner. This one only has one hanger. I'm gonna steal a hanger. Half the fun of doing wool applique is the embroidery stitching. Yeah, but I guess I started to say, I didn't show you cotton applique yet. I didn't really love that. I tried so many different methods. I tried I did one with that just raw edge and zigzagged it. I didn't love that. I did a needle turn. I I learned from Alice Wilhoit. Oh my goodness, she was an incredible teacher. But I don't know, it was so putsy. I tried the starch method. Like, oh, I hated that. That was just way too much work. And when I discovered wool applique, where you just cut your piece out and stitch it down, and you don't have to worry about it raveling or anything, I'm like, this is for me. It's not as putsy, not as much messing around, and I just really like the difference in the textures. It's much more fun. So there's another one. Has some of this is hand painted, my hand painted fabrics. This is called Nancy's Garden. I think I have to take some quilts down before I hang this up. Nancy is my mom. If you ever shopped in my booth at the quilt show, you've probably met my mom. She's been helping me for a lot of years. She's the best mom ever. So this one was a lot of fun to make. This is so different. I did a curve piecing. Oh, I hung it up and you can't see. Gotta bring it closer. So the background, you know, on my screen looking at it, it looks like it's one piece. So I don't know if you can see the difference. These are pieced curve piecing. It's just a real gentle curve. It's not something you need a template for. It's just kind of cut it, sew it, and it just gives it a little more movement in the quilt instead of just all those straight lines. So it is a preferred method of mine. It just makes it a lot of fun, a lot of more fun, and more interesting to look at. I don't know if you can see, they're gentle, but it's just a little more interesting than straight across. And then some wool applique flowers, and the leaves are wool. Okay, this is my cotton applique. This was a challenge. It was a Chaska Quilt Guild challenge. Well, it was a long time ago too. But so I don't remember what the challenge was. I don't think it was applique. It was probably the fabric, but I was learning applique. So I did this one all by hand. And it's pretty darn good. But ugh, it's not that great. I mean, it's okay. But I didn't go, oh yeah, I want to do some more of that applique. I look at now and I think I must have been a crazy person. But okay, so that is my oak leaf limbo, and then I did it in wool. So here it is the same thing in wool, except it doesn't have this flying geese border, which I don't know. I think it's not quite as good. I don't have not quite as interesting without that border. But it is, I could have done it. I was probably just lazy. Because this is cotton. It's just, I just left off that outside piece. What do you think? Border's better, huh? But sometimes you have to make it fit the space.
You did change up
Question,
the
Tracy,
stems.
Oh, were the
Oh, I
leaves
did, didn't
boutique?
I? They are different. I don't think I've ever looked at it like this together. Isn't that interesting how different it looks? Also just because of the colors.
I do like both of them though.
Yeah. I do too. Okay. Oh. Okay, that's all the quilts I have to show you for tonight. Although I could always go grab some more. Does anybody have any questions for me?
There was one question, Tracy, about
Yeah.
that first applique with the leaves. Were those batiks?
The yes, they are. You want to see it closer? Yeah, this is all cotton, and these are batiks, all batiks. Batiks, and I think this was a Hoffman fabric. I don't know why I remember that. And then this one is all batiks on the background with the wool. So this is the batik. And some of these fabrics in the Flying Geese, the green ones, I don't know, is this the geese? The green ones are batiks. They're not. It's a mixture. Mix them all up. Yeah, I like to mix them up. I guess I don't always use batiks, but a lot. I like them. I did have a giant cockroach one time on my batiks. I am not working at a quilting store. I am full-time doing my business. I dye a lot of wool. So that's what I do. I dye a lot of wool. I send it all over the world, actually. I have a few countries it goes to, a lot of places in the country. Locally, besides my house, there's not a lot of places. It's kind of crazy. I send more out of the state than is sold here. But Twin Cities Quilting, they carry my wool. Eagle Creek did, but they closed. So yeah, there's just anyway, another question. What dye? Yeah, my patterns are on my website. You could just Google me, my wool. I use Jacquard acid dyes. Somebody asked that.
Mm-hmm.
And I do have another spot. I have a second kitchen in my house. One of the reasons we moved to this house. So it was built weird. It's got like a main floor, and then the downstairs, which is where I am, is a kitchen, bedroom, family room. Is kind of like duplicate of the upstairs. So I have the whole lower level with the lake view. It's pretty nice. But I do have a whole kitchen and a separate laundry room. Before we moved here, when we lived in Chaska, I didn't have that. That is not. Oh, I don't know what you mean. But it's best. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, this is Wynn. I was just going to ask if you said something earlier about doing some embroidery and hand stitching and stuff, and I didn't understand. Is that something that you didn't like doing it with cotton? Do you do machine stitching when you're doing wool applique, or what's the combination?
Sometimes sometimes I have done, this is wool applique, and I did the whole thing by machine. But that was because I needed to get it done quickly for a show or something. It's not my preferred way because it's not as much fun, but it's fast. You know, you got to get it done fast. And if you don't like to do handwork, that's an option. You can still do wool applique on the machine. The handwork is meditative. It's very relaxing to me, and I really enjoy doing it. So with cotton applique, you know, I suppose you certainly can embellish that with embroidery. But I never have. I just didn't enjoy it took more time to turn it under and stitch it down. And I don't know, I felt like it took more time. I suppose because you have to worry about not having a raw edge. And I just didn't really like the look of raw edge cotton applique, I guess. So with wool, this one is wool, right? And I did this on the machine. I don't think we can really see good enough. Oh, maybe you can see it's like a blanket stitch. I did that on the machine, blanket stitch. I did this one on the machine. I don't know if you can see. That is free motion straight stitch. The turning, you know, when you're doing blanket stitch and you have to just keep turning it, that's pretty fussy. I have can you figure it out? I have very little patience, except for some things. Like if I do
You have patience for dyeing fabric, which
I know, isn't that crazy? I like that. And I like to do the embellishment of wool applique. Yes, this had, oh, you could see that. That's good. Yeah, I did. This is a variegated thread. It turned out pretty cool. Who'd have thought? When you're doing, let me see, what do I have? Oh, here. Got something right close up. Okay, so this little thing, just to add, you know, the extra little embroidery. It's got some French knots. It's got some extra little embroidery stitches. I like to do that. That's fun. I don't always have as much time as I would like, but that's the most fun thing about wool applique, I think, is adding all that fun little stuff. There's so many cool stitches. See? You can kind of see. Yeah. So that's a lot of fun. Yeah, on Saturday though, I am going to do a demonstration on how you can dye wool at home if you want to do it. I'm not gonna, I mean, the way I do it is a lot more complicated, and there's, you know, pots and cooking on the stove, and we can't do that as a demo. But I'm going to show you a quick and dirty way that you can do it at home. If you just have a few things you wanted to dye, or you bought some wool, some old skirt or something at Goodwill, and you want to dye it to make your own different colors for wool applique. Yeah, so that'll be fun. We'll do that.
That sounds like fun. Are you going to bring some of your other quilts too
Yes,
that you showed today?
a whole bunch of different ones that are all wool applique that I'm going to bring.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's fun. It was fun to see this because I honestly have only seen you at the show and at your booths at other shows where you just have the wool applique, and I didn't realize you had such a great background in, you know, just everything.
Yeah, because you can't bring everything to the show.
Right.
Can't hang it all up. Yeah, it's a lot. Just about every technique. Tracy, can you teach this class? And I'm like, all right, let me learn how. But it's been kind of fun because there's so many different techniques and methods and ways you can make a quilt. I mean, it's endless, really. Well,
I-
none of us have enough time.
I was going to say that I really like the fact that you have tried out so many different things, and I think that's what many of us do in quilting. We take a lesson and then we take another lesson, because it is fun to sample a technique, and then sometimes you land on something that really is your passion, like for you, the dyeing wool and creating
Yeah.
things with that. And I think that's why we all like quilting. It's like you can find that little space or that little thing that is really your favorite thing, or you can just sample a bit of everything.
Right. Or, and it's good to try different things because you don't know what's going to be your favorite thing. And just because you did one, you might have taken one terrible class from somebody. That was another thing. My beginning quilting class it was not fun at all. And if I hadn't had to take that class because I worked there, and I was working at the time of the class. Like, I don't know, the class was on Wednesday night and I worked Wednesday night, and uh, the sampler in Excelsior was a pretty small store, a lot smaller than when we moved to Chanhassen. And you couldn't like get away from the class. Oh, thank you, Jan. You couldn't get, you're like, it was so small. The classroom was just in the store. We didn't have a classroom. But my teacher was very old school, and she wasn't happy with me at all. She didn't like my color choices. It's a good thing I had enough confidence to tell her, "Oh, no, I like it. It's my quilt." I had to tell her that all the time. It's my quilt. It's not your quilt. So, but having that teacher that was not so, I mean, she was an excellent quilter, but she just didn't teach the way I needed to be taught. Let's say it that way. But that showed me how not to be a teacher. You know what I mean?
True.
Uh, to know that everybody learns differently. Also, my husband taught elementary school, so I know that everybody's, our brains are all different, and some of us have to learn by seeing, some of us can learn just by hearing it, some of us just have to actually do it before it sinks in. So all those things together help me with my teaching of quilting.
Well, I'm glad you stuck with it. I was going to say I might have been turned off by that teacher and just gone, oh, quilting's not for me.
It happened a lot. We lost a lot of people. They didn't finish the class. A lot of people that took that class from her didn't finish the quilt, never came back. So I said, I'm going to teach this class now, and we're going to do it different.
That's good.
So, yeah, so I taught a lot of people how to quilt.
Well, thank you, Tracy. This has been a lot of fun to have this, insight into all your journey and all the
Thank you for
different things
having
you've
me.
done. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just one question on the curved quilts you did. You said
Yeah.
the curve did you use the Curve Master foot?
I
Or
did, yes. Yeah.
Okay.
It's awesome. I bet I don't even know if you can still get one. Because I know she sold it to Martelli.
Martelli. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know
I
if they
picked one
still,
up at our garage sale, so I still
oh,
have it.
yeah, I think it's awesome. If you're going to do curves, it is really great. But if you can't get one and you don't have one, the whole key to that foot is that it's short. So like if your regular presser foot is long, and it's only like half.
Right.
So as you're piecing, you can hold your fabric up. You don't lay them down flat together. Yeah, you don't need, you can use, I have another foot on my Bernina that's just kind of short, instead of being long.
Right. Because I normally
instead of being
pin my
half.
curves, right? So I'm doing it you know, the old fashioned way. You pin them in the center and at the ends and then kind
Yeah.
of,
This is
but the
easier.
curve
You don't
master, you
pin.
actually hold one piece
Yeah,
up,
you don't
right?
pin it.
Yeah.
No pinning. And there I explain it, it's all in my pattern directions, but this is just as good. You just don't pin them. And so these are your two pieces you're going to sew together, and you feed them in and you hold this one up because they don't match when you lay them down because
Right.
they're opposites, right?
Mhm.
So you just hold it up and just kind of feed it in right at the foot. Works like a charm. It's really pretty awesome.
I have to give it
There's
a try.
probably a YouTube video.
I think there are many
Yeah,
on it.
how to
Yeah.
use the curve master foot. If anybody wants to look it up. But it's doable without it, you know, and some people just can't bring themselves to not pin it. And you know, if that's the way you want to do it, you, like I always say, you do it the way it makes you happy. There's some way to quilt that makes you happy, and do it that way. You don't have to listen to anybody else.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, well, thank you so much for having me. As weird as it is to do anything over Zoom, this was fun, and I'm really looking forward to Saturday.
Yeah, we're looking forward to having you too. And yeah, bringing all your wool quilts and maybe a
Yes.
few of these too.
Yeah, some of these with wool, the ones with wool on them, I'll bring.
Okay.
And usually when I do an in-person meeting and vending, I don't always bring all these other patterns, you know, because it's usually about wool. But if
Right.
anybody wants one, just, you know, email me or something, just so I make sure I bring it.
Okay. Okay. That sounds good.
Okay.
Yeah. And put in the comments if you want Tracy to, you know, if you're interested in some of her other patterns, and we'll make sure she brings them. That would be great.
Yeah, and my email is just tracytrevethan@gmail.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna
Thank you.
unpin you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
It was awesome.
And I'm going to go back to sharing my screen. Here we go. Okay. Hopefully everybody can see that. And we're going to move right on into the announcements. Just a sec. Let me get my screen set up so I don't have it. Okay, so 23-24 program year is coming up, and I and my new co-director Sarah Parker are starting to get working on sending contracts out to people and lining presenters up for the upcoming year. So here's just a few highlights of folks we are in the process of doing contracts with. The Questioning Quilter, Side Lake Stitch, who's a local lady, she does dyeing best. Scrappy Applique will be Zoom, and then we'll have a collage applique presenter, Lori, who I believe teaches around the Twin Cities, but she does more, she's local and will be there on Saturday. And then Jenny Lyon, who will be presenting over Zoom. So those are just a few of the people we're looking forward to having next year. And if you have an idea for a presenter or a technique, please do email us at ed@mnquilt.org, because that's where I get my ideas from. People just stop by and say, hey, I've heard of this person, or you should look at this and see. And it works out well. We trying to get a lot of different techniques and a lot of different people in. And let's see. Oops, I went too far. Sorry. And then last meeting, we did the drawing for the 20 BQ5 patterns we had that Debbie Bowles from Maple Island Quilts had given us. That was very popular. Everybody got one, was very happy, and then several people bought extras, but We are planning to do it as a special exhibit at the, well, not a special exhibit, but an exhibit at the quilt show in Duluth. It'll be similar to the mystery quilt where you'll be able to enter it in its own category. But if you missed the drawing or if you missed hearing about it, it was in the newsletter and you can get an extra pattern. Just visit mapleislandquilts.com and you'll be able to order it for $10. Plus, I think it's $3.50 shipping and handling. And the link is also in the newsletter from last month. Our November meeting coming up, we will have Diane Harris of Stash Bandit. She's quite a dynamic speaker, and she'll be doing both presentations. Will be over Zoom, but Saturday, of course, will be an in-person meeting, so it'll be hybrid with her presenting over Zoom. But 2 separate lectures, making extraordinary scrap quilts on Thursday. And then Saturday, she'll have a Jingle Bells trunk show featuring many of her seasonal Christmas type quilts. And then coming up, unfortunately, this is already booked, but I just thought I'd leave it in there so you can remind you that we're having our fall getaway next week, October 11th through 15th at the Riverside Inn in Cold Spring. And I'm looking forward to it. And then day retreat at MQ. I think we're still registering folks online for that. 3 days of dedicated quilting, laughter, making new friends. Sew all day and sleep in your own bed. There's advantages to that. And then the scholarship. I don't know if Wynn or someone wants to pop in with words to say about this, but
we'll see if Mia is here, but if she isn't here, let me pop in until she checks in. So every year we have a scholarship. And so if you are a new quilter or if you know somebody who is a new quilter, we want to invite you to apply for a scholarship. And this is a 1-year membership to Minnesota Quilters, free registration at the 2024 Minnesota Quilt Show. You get tuition for a 6-hour class or for 2 3-hour classes, tuition for a lecture pass, 2 tickets to the banquet, and hotel room for 2 nights during the show. So if you are someone who has done maybe just a few quilts, you really understand that you're in the beginner category, we love to have people apply, and you'd be surprised how few people do apply. So give it some thought. Call somebody you know who's just starting to quilt and wants to learn how to do it. It's just a great opportunity. We're always pleased to put that out there. So look for the membership copies. They'll be on the membership table, some paper copies for application. And I think it's on the website, but if not yet, very soon.
great. Thanks, Lynn. Oops, once again, I skipped too fast. There's a flash sale on masks coming up. I don't know if Brenda's here. Is she? Nope.
No,
I will just, she threw these slides in at the last minute, so I'm just going to read through them. Sorry. Masks for Claire generously donated masks for people to purchase for the masquerade ball at this year's show, and they have about 25 left and thought they would be perfect for last minute costumes for Halloween. So they've been discounted to $10. October will be your last chance to purchase. So they'll be there on Saturday at the meeting, at the probably at the merchandise table, and only available for purchase at MQ, no shipping. Though I'm sure you can probably purchase them over the phone if you're willing to come in and pick them up. And then join the show committee. Believe me, this is a lot of fun. I did it for several years. Not this year or last year, but I did do the 22 show and the virtual show, and it was great fun. So anyway, they've got they're still looking for show coordinators, admissions, advanced registration, charter bus tours and outreach. Faculty, they've increased that to a 4-person committee, photography, printing, signage, and vendors. but you can volunteer for just smaller tasks if you're not quite up to being volunteering for the whole thing or the whole position. You can just do some smaller tasks that need to be worked on right now, like planning out the classroom needs. I think she's got all the classes determined and figured out. It's always a bit of a scramble to try and figure out who goes into what room and which machine is going to be with which teacher in which room and which one has all the right setups. So that's always kind of fun to coordinate. They'll be hosting a couple of Meet the Teachers virtual events coming up. So those are fun to be the Zoom host. You don't even have to leave your house to do that one. Serve as tech support for classrooms, coordinate audio recordings, oversee quilt shop marketing process, and let's see, organize workshop info. And that is basically just getting the class lists from the teachers and putting them into our standard format. So that's a pretty easy task to do. Anyway, but if you're interested in helping out with some of the smaller tasks now, because you want to take classes at the quilt show, and these would be perfect. And I think we're up for show and tell now. I don't know if Jude wants to pipe in, but we've got a few show and tell entries that came in. And if you're here online, Denise, do you want to tell us about your quilt? Oops, sorry.
Well, this came in a couple of days ago, and it's amazing what you can do with other people's blocks. And I know we've had some fun exchanges, and a lot of quilt guilds enjoy that. And these were all made on either treadle or hand crank machines. But look at those houses. There's a dog house, there's a barn, there's a castle, there's all different styles. I think this is a really fun quilt.
Yeah, it is. That's quite amazing on the hand crank. But it's just sort of like sewing slowly with your regular machine, just not the fancy stitches. Oops, sorry, there we go. This one's cool.
Yeah. This one is really neat. It has a beautiful story. Is Julia on here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, good.
And as I said there, friend's mother was unable to quilt any longer, was moving into assisted living. And I was invited to get some of her stash. She had a lot of UFOs. So I think she was one of these that gets excited about a new project, and then all of a sudden she gets excited about another new one. This one was all these log cabin blocks with tiny floral prints, lots of beautiful prints. And she had most of the blocks done. I finished a couple blocks. She had strips for a few more. And then I needed one more block to complete my quilt. And I didn't have enough background, so I had to hunt for some fabric that in my stash that would be reasonably close. And you can see it's the one in the lower corner. But it turned out really, the picture doesn't do it justice. And it's been donated to Girdith Village Bible Camp for their gala. So it's donated. And Irene's granddaughter had worked at the camp, so it's got a little special connection there.
Oh, what a wonderful story.
That is, yeah. Beautiful quilt. And I didn't even notice that one corner until you mentioned it.
I think it's more noticeable on the picture than it is in real life.
Yeah.
Well, I bought a kit at the Minnesota Quilters Garage Sale because I wanted the play mat. I didn't know what else was really in it. And so I made the play mat for my grandson, and he likes to put a little toy trains on it that belonged to my son. And of course, you have to have a dinosaur parade every now and then too.
Yeah.
Uh, but in it, there was panels for a bag and these two houses and the little train. So that'll be going back to MQ for the auction. And then I also, for his birthday, made him a little, dinosaur backpack, from a panel that I bought. So did some three-dimensional work recently.
That's cute. I love the backpack. That's really nice.
Yeah, the zipper for the mouth, I think, was real cute.
Uh-huh.
And I did put some reflective tape at the fabric and at the top, just in case. And, it very quick and easy
Mm-hmm.
pattern.
And just to remind everyone, whether you are a Zoomer or going to be there in the room, email your quilt photos to Show and Tell, and we will get them in the presentation. And now for the door prizes. And how many folks do we have left? 64. Okay. Linda is going to help me with this. I'm going to roll the dice for some numbers, and I've got 47.
Hold on.
Mhm.
Loretta Stone.
Oh, great.
Are you still with us, Loretta?
I am.
Yay.
What quote shop do you want, Loretta? I think I'm through buying. I'm trying to use up what I have. So, why don't you give it to the next name drawn? Okay. All
Well,
right.
that's
Nice.
generous of you. Thank you.
Okay, that's fine.
I know what you mean, though. I'm kind of at that. I've got too much to. And I've got 23.
Julia, and I think it's Acola.
Yes.
All
Okay.
right, Julia.
Yeah, I want for what's brewing in Wabasha. I'll put it in the chat.
Yes, please do. If you could write that and your name, with your
Well,
mailing address and the quilt shop in the town, that would be perfect.
Okay, thank you.
We can get that. We just need to know the shop.
Sometimes it's good to get the mailing address at the time of the
Yeah, I
meeting.
think Deborah
So
asked
moved.
me for that because sometimes our records aren't up to date if folks have moved.
Okay.
Well, I've been here for 20 years, so but that's
Okay, then we probably have the right
I'll
address.
put it in.
Julia. Okay, I'm going to go for one more. And we have 67.
Linda Kosfeld. Are you there? Still there, Linda?
Linda, are you with us still? I don't see her on anymore. I'm going to roll again.
Okay.
Because we're down to 59 now. So 18.
Well, this is odd. This is somebody called iPad. So it's somebody who is signed on with the name of iPad as their name.
That's a little strange.
Okay, I think
And you can look to see if they're still in.
I found iPad. I asked them to unmute. I don't know. I can roll again.
Hmm.
29.
Who's that? 29.
Is
Kim Andrews.
We know her.
Kim is on.
Hi, Kim.
Oh, it's not the Kim Andrews I was thinking about.
Wait, are you paying attention, Kim?
Probably trying to unmute.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes. Hi, Kim.
What
Awesome.
what shop do you want?
Let's go for Quilt Haven on Main in
Okay,
Hutchinson.
And do we have your address, Kim, or have you moved
You
lately?
should. I'm out in Howard Lake. Yeah, you should have mine.
Okay.
Awesome.
so how many are you giving, Liz? 3?
It's gonna give 2.
Oh, okay, then you've got those 2.
All right.
And you wrote the names down, Linda?
Yep, I'll send you an email with all the
Thank
info.
you very much for your help. And thank you everyone for attending tonight. And Tracy, if you're still there, thank you so much. We really enjoyed your program.
Thank you. I'm glad I stayed and watched the show and tell.
Yeah, I wish we had more. Sometimes we have a bunch, but this week we only got in 3. So
Oh, well.
I'm
Maybe
sure there'll be
Saturday.
more on Saturday.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'll see you then. Bye now.
Okay, thanks a lot. Thanks, everyone. Have a great evening.
Bye.
Bye-bye.